Where are the low-value men?
The hijacker's passport was found blocks from the World Trade Center crash site. You can believe that. You can believe that. You can believe that.
Contracted COVID, but says with a mixture of medicines, including the controversial horse dewormer that has poisoned hundreds of people nationwide, he's now recovered.
He was the best guy around.
What about the people he murdered?
What murder?
From the headlines to the whisper star, low value mail, low value mail at 9 o'clock, where truth and fiction take a walk.
Why don't you swear on the Bible that you walked on the moon? You're a coward and a liar and a thief.
Our stories are.
Welcome back, everybody, to an all-new episode of Low Value Mail on this Monday, March 23rd, 2026, the year of our Lord. It's episode number 179, like any of you give a shit. But welcome back, Scroats. We got a great episode for you tonight. Apologies for no episode. Last week I had pretty severe food poisoning. I'm dubbing it the Netanyahu flu because, and we'll get to it. We'll get to it. Netanyahu's revenge, if you will. But I made a video, a little, what I thought would be a comical little video for Twitter, drinking a cafe latte, and I think it poisoned me. So funny how that stuff works. But anyways, we're going to get to it. Just an FYI, for those of you who maybe haven't watched an episode in a few weeks, we have a new number for the show. The 800 number is no longer. There's also a second number, priority number, for the patrons, for the very important scroats that you saw on that front screen, but also just everybody who's a patron of the show. Gives you priority access. Last episode, I'm not sure. I think almost every caller fell in the patron bucket, if you will. So if you want priority calling, consider signing up for the Patreon, patreon.com/lowvaluemail, MAIL. Also, if you live in some shithole country and you're like, it's expensive to call a local US number, I will get you a number local to you. Just ping me in the Patreon chat and I'll specifically get you a number local to you if you have to pay long distance because you live in a shithole country. All right, let's get to it. We got Gerard answering the calls. We're going to open the phone lines pretty soon. So it is now day 24 of what President Trump says is definitely not a war, by the way. Not a war. This is just a military operation, maybe a special military operation, you could call it. The same thing that Vladimir Putin, called invading Ukraine, and it's now been over 4 years, so not great. Not loving that. Trump issued a 48-hour ultimatum to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Otherwise, he would bomb their power plants. Interesting tactic. Just no power for 90 million people. And it expires in about 40 minutes, I believe. So I guess we might get some fireworks near the end of this show. I don't know. It's 40 minutes from now. His 48-hour ultimatum expires. Although I don't even know if it technically is holding because the IRGC responded that they would retaliate to that by bombing various Gulf Coast country desalination plants and their energy infrastructure. So he's like, and, you know, I don't know if, I personally didn't know this either. I don't know how many of you know this. A lot of these countries do not have any access to fresh water, right? They only water they really have access to is from these desalination plants, converting salt water into potable, drinkable water. So if you bomb them, it's basically a death sentence. They cannot get enough water to live, essentially. So pretty bold move. But Trump, so again, I don't know if this 40 minutes thing even matters because Trump announced this morning a 5-day pause on bombing any energy infrastructure at all due to what he said were very good talks over the last 2 days. Now, basically, Trump wants the stock market to go up. He wants oil prices to go down. And it is funny that 5-day pause happens to coincide with the days that these markets are open, essentially, right? So once the markets close on whatever Friday night, it's back to business, right? I guess it's possible. We'll see. But, and I said, I believe last episode, that Trump, he's very good at knowing exactly what to say to move markets in the direction he wants, which buys him a little time. You know, everybody in the country, obviously, would be a lot less pumped about what's going on if oil prices were $200 a barrel. But he can just kind of snap his fingers, say one thing, stock market rips, oil prices tank, buys him some time, right? But, because Trump announced that this morning, the IRGC comes out a couple hours later, and they're like, I don't know what he's talking about. The guy's loco. Never happened. The talks never happened. Prices reversed a little bit, but, not fully. So he kind of got what he wanted. Now, I guess a real question here, is the IRGC even in charge anymore? Do we know that? There's a lot of stuff we don't know. Who exactly is the U.S. negotiating with, right? The IRGC is like, yeah, we never got a call. And Trump's like, yeah, because you guys are not going to be running the country when this is all over, assuming that's what happens. I have no idea how this is going to play out. One thing that can't be ignored, that seems to keep happening. This keeps happening a lot, and I don't have a comparison versus other administrations. It seems increasingly blatant under this one. It happens a lot. Is that individuals with advanced knowledge of what Trump is going to say, potentially family members, Barron, I don't know, they are making fucking fortunes. 5 minutes before Trump announced these talks that, the 5-day pause this morning, it was around 7 a.m., 5 minutes beforehand, some entity purchased $1.5 billion in S&P 500 futures, and somebody, I don't know who, sold close to $200 million in oil futures, right? Knowing that oil was about to tank and the stock market was about to rip. And there is nothing we can do about it. Literally nothing. It's Chinatown. It is how it is. And if I had to guess, this probably stuff was not happening to this level under previous administrations. Obviously, we know that, Congress people, they can trade stocks. They get, they make $175,000 a year. Some of them are worth $300 million for some reason. I don't know why. That seems odd. But it keeps happening. It happened here. Numerous tariff announcements, whether, more tariffs were being put in, tariffs were being lifted. Same thing happens. There's some lucky individual, just pure luck, just happens to, short or buy, kind of a 9/11 situation where, all these puts are just bought the day before 9/11. It keeps happening. Okay. It keeps happening. It's essentially like if you combined insider trading with treason somehow. That's how it feels. Now, obviously, I'm going to open the phone lines. I'm going to let you guys just absolutely sound off on whatever you want, whatever you like, whatever you dislike about what's going on. Trump is still within his 4-week timeline of how long he originally said this would take. Okay, so I want to give him the benefit of the doubt on this one, especially considering the success in Venezuela. Obviously, people were pointing to the success in Iran last summer, although really, if that was successful, would you need to do this? So hard to say. Could this be a case of hubris? Are the people running things just completely inept? Who fucking knows? Really, who knows at this point? Have they ever... I don't know what the opposite of inept is. Competent? I don't know. But they're all very good at profiting from all this stuff. We know that. They can get a fucking bag out of this shit. I'm looking at you, Howard Lutnick. But time is running out for Trump to at least say this was some quick thing, some quick in and out. And he's so all over the place with this stuff. It's really impossible to know what's going on. It's really impossible to know what's going on with any of this stuff. Famously, Dubai, probably I would guess almost every Gulf Coast country, all of them, they made it illegal. Like Dubai literally made it illegal to post videos of any sort of attacks, punishable by like huge fines, jail time, several years in jail. So when you see, videos of people in Dubai or wherever, Oman, being like Bahrain, I don't know how it's pronounced, Bahrain, being like, oh, it's great here. It's illegal to say otherwise. And those people might even be getting paid by the government to kind of say, hey, everything's cool. Nothing to worry about. We'd love it if you took a vacation to this fucking hunk of sand. Right? It's possible that that's what's going on, which again, all this stuff with Trump just being all over the place, that just might be the point, okay? That really might be the point, art of the deal shit where he's just so unpredictable and literally just says anything he thinks. Whenever he thinks it, he says one thing and then he says the opposite. Things are going well. There's going to be no troops. Now there's thousands of troops going in. We're not bombing their infrastructure, their power grid. We're taking it down the next day. Who knows? I mean, it would be tough if you're on the other side of that. It'd be like, we're dealing with a fucking completely unhinged lunatic, right? But regardless, that doesn't take back 13 U.S. service members dead. Probably, I don't know what the tally we have here. I know that they asked for, a supplemental like $200 billion, just in case, just 200 bill, just in case. Probably we're at, I don't know, $30-40 billion has been spent already. Maybe more, maybe 50. I mean, look, their estimates are, I think they're saying $1 to $2 billion a day, which would be like $24 to $48 billion. That's the estimate. These guys are like contractors, though, like, one that does your kitchen, because that when the final bill comes, they're like, yeah, we had a couple of cost overruns. It was like $600 billion. So it's cost a lot of money already. And I will say, I always laugh. You see all these people on Twitter. It's not a specific political party. A lot of times there are people on the left, but you see people on the right. You'll see libertarians. Everybody kind of says, they go, if we weren't spending this money on this war, do you know that we could abolish poverty and have free healthcare in this country? They're not doing that. That was never an option. Like the notion that they're like, hey, they're sitting around like, should we give everybody free healthcare or blow up a bunch of people far away? These are our two current options. Okay. It would be nice if that was a discussion. That would be great if that was the actual discussion. I'm not even saying that they would do the right thing, but if they even had the discussion, but it's not, okay? It's either blow people up or do something equally idiotic with the money, okay? Those are the two options. And deep down, we know that's how it is, right? We don't have to like it, but that's how it is. And it's hard to really even get an understanding of how much support there is for this war. Like, I was in Fort Worth last weekend doing stand-up. People in Texas, they seem kind of pumped for this. At least a lot more than they do in New York City. I promise you that. And obviously the politics are different. They seem pretty jazzed about this for the most part. I'm not saying everybody, but they seem kind of pumped about this. And, people online are like, nobody supports this war. There's zero support for this war. I'm not sure that's true. I don't think that's completely true. Doesn't make them right for supporting it, but there are people who support this war. I mean, look, 2 decades, maybe even more, of anti-Islam propaganda in this country may have got people on board with this shit just forever. Like, if you recall, if you're around my age, you probably recall most TV shows, movie villains, from about 2000, maybe even 95 to like 2015, they were all just Muslim terrorists. Like, I have a friend I know a few comedians, actually, Arab guys, forever, whenever they got asked to audition for any TV show, any movie, it was a terrorist. Like every single time. You guys remember 24? Holy shit, man. 24. It was all just, I mean, I think there was the one, what was it, Dennis Hopper? There was that one season where he was like a Russian terrorist. For the most part, it was all just fucking brown people just detonating nukes in Los Angeles. That was the whole show. And that was just, you know, that's what it was. That's what movies were. And, you know, regardless of, is this war justified? Is it needed? You know, that shit might just sit dormant in people's brains. That they're just like, Muslim people want to blow us up and we need to blow them up first, you know? And so the moment we're just back at war with them, there's just some not so small segment of the population that gets so fired up about this. So fired up. And look, I'm not the only person to say, a lot of people are saying this kind of everywhere, that this administration has not put forward the best case for this war. I mean, I will, to Trump's defense, this guy has had a hard-on for a long time. A long time. I will give him that. He has interviews dating back to the 80s talking about bombing Karg Island, or whatever it's, however you pronounce it. I think that's right. Where they, you know, 90% of their oil infrastructure is situated. So, you know, this isn't a new thing. You could at least give him that. He's not a fair weather Iran hater. This dude is an OG Iran hater. And I mean, I'm sure other people think this, but at least a concern with Trump is he may be doing this purely just for legacy's sake, and it didn't need to be done. You know, they're obviously like, this needed to be done. This needed to be done. This was our chance. It needed to be done. Similar to Cuba, which, you know, I don't know if you're following Cuba. Things are not going well there for the Cuban people. But, you know, the guy has an ego, and you could think he's had discussions privately that he wants to be on Mount Rushmore. Maybe he wants to be all four of them, just different phases of his life. But he does think about his legacy a lot, and he seems to be now more than ever kind of playing for the long-term kind of legacy game. The really crazy thing, if you think about it, is that the first Trump term, when everybody's like, this guy is fucking deranged, this guy's crazy, this guy is Hitler, that was the moderate version. That was him kind of taking his foot off the gas, because he was still trying to get reelected in the first term, right? Like, he was actually, every decision he made was, he's like, you know what, if I go too crazy, like, nobody will reelect me. There's no reelection here. We're getting the whole thing, right? There were no assassination attempts. There was no attempts to throw him in jail. None of that. So we're getting the full version of Trump. And we're only like a year and change in. So we'll see. All right. I'm going to open the phone line shortly. I want to talk about briefly if Benjamin Netanyahu is dead. And you guys say I don't talk about conspiracies anymore. Sure I do. I just talk about the ones that are currently happening. He's not. I know some of you would love him to be dead. There's a lot of people. It really makes you think about the whole karma thing. You go like, does karma really exist if Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu are alive? Because there's a lot of people who are putting out some bad juju in the ether about the two of them. And they're somehow still alive. So does karma exist? I don't know. I'm sure some of you do think he's dead. I know a lot of people online do. Tons. It's been kind of an obsession of mine. I've been really into this one. And if you do, please call in. The phone lines are going to be open soon. Please call in. I would like to hear from you. I would like the case for why he is in fact dead. Why they wouldn't announce it. I'm interested. I'm curious. Because, yeah, this is, in terms of recent conspiracies, this is one of my favorite by far. And, again, I don't know if this is just a case of wishful thinking. You know, people are just like, I just want him to be dead so badly that he's dead. Or if this is just maybe AI is kind of cooking people, but the other way. because it's not the AI videos that are cooking people. It's the existence of AI videos that are so prevalent that it's now making people question real videos, which is not, when you're talking like Yuri Bezmenov demoralization, I don't think there could be a more demoralizing thing when you reach the point where you're like, nothing is real. Everything is fake and nothing is real. Probably not good. Hard to say, but probably not good. I guess it doesn't really matter. Maybe it doesn't matter what people believe about this. This could just be a new cohort of flat earthers, essentially, who just don't believe anything. And I've said it before. If you think everything's a conspiracy, you've gone too far. That's not the point of being a conspiracy theorist, is to just be like, literally all things are conspiracies. You need to pare it back a bit. You got to pick your battles. That's because otherwise people think you are nuts. And it honestly does discredit conspiracy people as a whole. And maybe, just maybe, that's what the Jews want, right? Is they go, we want to make these people come off as so nuts that when they do say something that's not nuts, we just, again, similar to the whole the genesis of the term conspiracy theorist related to the JFK assassination, where you go, we're just going to make these people seem so nuts that even if they ever do say something that's not nuts, we just go, this person's nuts. So anyways, if you think he's dead, I want to hear from you. Phone lines are now open. 1-347-391-6995. There's also a Patreon number. I dropped it in the chat. I dropped it on YouTube for the YouTube post area. By God, it is so fucking hot in this studio, by the way. I'm sorry if you're going to hear some sirens at some point. The studio must be 90 degrees right now for some reason. I don't know why. I took my sweater off. Still sweating. Not hot or cold outside. It's pretty balmy. Maybe balmy is not the right term. But it is fucking so hot in here. And we got Gerard answering your calls. And again, if you want priority pickup, patreon.com/low-value-mail. Before I get to the calls, just a few things. If you want to join the list of the very important scrotes at the beginning of the show, the scrote wall of fame, if you will, you can join. It's $10 tier or higher here or on Patreon. You can join on YouTube. You can join on Patreon. If you're already a member, you can upgrade. And if you don't have any money, that's cool too. You can support the show without money. Just like the stream, share it with a friend, leave a comment. If you're listening on Spotify, just hit the follow button on Spotify and maybe leave a comment on Spotify. I do check those. I do respond to them sometimes. Also, we got a new episode of The Bathhouse tomorrow night, 9 p.m. We have at least 4 episodes left due to the generosity of people from the previous episode. If you want the show to never be canceled, just go join the Save the Bathhouse tier here on YouTube. Also, there's almost 50 of you signed up for the $1 YouTube membership. So if all of you were to upgrade, we'd be pretty close. And it would be an extra $1.99 a month. So if you want to do that, do that. If not, don't worry. Also, if you want to see me live, I have tons of dates coming up doing stand-up. Pittsburgh, April 9th. Chicago, Detroit, Charlotte, Washington, D.C., Ocala, Florida, San Diego, Chandler, Arizona, East Providence, Rhode Island. That's the Comedy Connection, and Brooklyn, New York. And I have a bunch of other ones that will be coming up as well. You can get tickets at www.dannycomedy. Now let's go to the phone lines. Come on. Hello, you're on the
Hello,
Danny.
How are you?
Very well. Who am I speaking with?
This is Zach from New York. How are you, sir?
Zach from New York. What's happening?
So, you were asking broadly, what do you think is going on?
Yes.
And my personal perspective on the totality of what has been playing out, I feel like we are in the wind-up phase where at some near future point, there's going to be an incident where tens of millions, if not billions, die. And you then at that point, there's going to...
You think billions of people with a B are going to be dying? How does that work?
Are you familiar with agenda? I mean, that's the question. But are you familiar with Agenda 2030? Do you understand what this is?
I don't know Agenda 20. I've seen something about it, I think, on Twitter. I don't know. I knew Project, what was it, 2025? Or I don't know.
I mean, may I attempt to kind of give the bullet points real quick?
Let's hear it.
Okay. So Agenda 2030 is a global initiative wherein United Nations and various sub-organizations and nonprofit organizations have been pursuing a 2030 agenda where they're going to reduce carbon emissions. And there's like a litany of what you would expect the potential outcomes would be. And as a, precursor to that event, they've been inoculating various communities with these Agenda 2030 goals. And I have, compared the New York State climate accords against what the Agenda 2030 outline is. And it basically, like, it's the state is signed on, and then subsequently individual communities within each state sign on to these compacts to commit themselves to environmental and regulatory.
So it's mostly environmental stuff, though. Like it's all just like net zero.
On the surface, it's a preparation for this sort of 2030 switchover, which is been widely sold as like this sort of like upcoming deadline. Are you familiar with the Line project in Saudi Arabia?
No, tell me about it.
Oh, it's this weird, like this 3,000 kilometer city they wanted to build that was like 300 feet, 100 yards wide, and 1,000 kilometers tall. Just this like weird, we're doing it kind of like Soviet style, this is happening project that they just pulled the plug on. Whereas they, dug up like the entirety of the country and like this massive, like,
it's just like a super, I'm looking at photos. It's like a super skinny city in the middle of the desert, basically.
Yeah. This is the 15-minute city, the Agenda 2030 agenda, kind of like colliding into reality where it's like, yeah, you need like quadrillions of dollars and more glass than humanity's made since the invention of glass to build this fucking thing. Mm-hmm. But like reality and like physics and finance and law and like all this stuff doesn't really matter in the face of this. It's a communist ideology that is pursuing these goals. Like Hochul's begging wealthy people to come back to the state while people are fleeing, while they're implementing these insane policies. And part of the reason everyone's, do you get people bitching to you about NYSEG? Do you hear this all the time?
No, I don't even know what that is. What's NYSEG?
NYSEG is the New York State electric and gas company that's owned by a Spanish multinational energy conglomerate. And they're jacking everyone's electric bills up, well, gas too.
I think in the 70. City it's all Con Ed.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, you should come upstate. We'd love to have you come listen to how everyone's fucking dying of fentanyl. It's great.
I'm sure I'll be up there at some point. Yeah, I don't think this. Sorry, I'm looking at this photo of this line. This, it says a revolution in urban living. What I don't get is, isn't this similar to all like urban planning? What happens if it gets full, and then they're like, okay, and like every other town that's ever existed, they're like, we would like to expand it, or they're like, it can't be expanded.
No, someday everyone's going to live inside this thing, or you won't live at all. It's kind of like a Snowpiercer style.
Sure. Like
they are planning some sort of total society where you live exclusively inside of their zone, or you don't survive at all.
Gotcha.
And what is going to be the precursor event to where the Line and all these other like weirdo billionaire mega projects are the solution? That's kind of what I'm getting. Like, if you Google Agenda 2030, just ask one of the, I know you're in, have AI tools. What does New York's Agenda 2030 plan? How does it align with the United Nations Agenda 2030 plan? And it will tell you, oh no, they're like one and the same. It's all the same, like EXE kind of program.
This is the quick on it, is an NYC 2030 district aiming at 50% building emission reductions by 2030, carbon neutrality, resilience against climate change. It aligns local efforts with the UN's 17 global goals to end poverty, fight inequality, and enhance sustainability. That's essentially what it says here. And, I can imagine those are all... I mean, it's funny, we don't even talk about climate change anymore. I guess maybe that's not on the docket at the moment, but it seems like climate change has kind of been on the shelf. It was like everything, like all everybody talked about, and then it's kind of gone away.
What's funny is that my uncle, when I was growing up, used to be like, Zachary, they used to say it was global cooling. The whole planet's going to freeze into an ice ball. And Leonard Nimoy warning the whole world, global cooling, we're all going to freeze. It's just a cyclical con that as soon as one lie kind of plays itself out, they flip it over into another one.
On a long enough time frame, they're probably all right. There's going to be a period of global heating and a period of global cooling. I mean, I'm sure it's possible at some point this whole planet's going to be covered in ice. Like it might be, 500,000 years from now, but.
And, it might be that there's going to be some predictable statistical pole shift and the Earth is going to undergo like a very measurable, discernible modification in how the baseline activity operates. And a handful of people know this, and they are playing their hand in advance. I mean, whatever the truth is, it's going to be something fucked up.
Yeah.
And there's someone out there
you're
who
thinking
knows.
a nuke. I mean, honestly, the more I watch the way like Trump handles all this stuff, and you're like, especially in Iran, you're like, you can see the possibility that he would like, or him or Israel would just fucking launch a nuke.
I mean, but what if Trump's role here is to just kind of lay the groundwork for whoever, if it's going to be Vance or Kamala 2 or AOC, it doesn't really matter. The next person, they're teeing off on this new golf course of society. What are they getting ready to allow to happen? And it's clear there's some, I mean, we're getting geared up into some sort of transition into, are people living in tubes with Neuralinks where you're playing Skyrim with,
the Matrix,
food you can taste and your dick works in the game. Like, why would you ever want to come out of that? I mean, this is the kind of games and drugs that the guy, what was that guy from that company? He was talking about how the future is people basically on video games and drugs no, he was that mousy guy with glasses.
Mousy guy with glasses.
Somebody in the chat will tell you.
Bill
anyway,
Gates?
are
you talking about Bill Gates?
No. This was one of those international, monetary fund guys talking
Klaus
about
Schwab?
how no, younger guy. He's talking about how we were going to manage the public in the future.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Drugs and video games.
Harari.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes.
The Sapiens guy. Israeli.
And that's almost a charitable way to deal with the masses. If you think you could just exterminate them and turn them into gasoline. I don't know if you know what thermal depolymerization is. Have you heard of this?
No.
You basically take organic matter and put it under pressure and heat with water, and you end up with oil. So you can do it with homeless people, garbage, like anything.
It feels like that's not the best use of a living person, is turning, how much oil? What is that, a tank of gas?
Yeah, but it's for the better future on Mars. If you think about the average person not as an individual, but as a widget and a greater, progress towards the stars, sacrificing a few 100 million is nothing. I mean, this is what communism is.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like this is all really just a way of slipping communism to people's drink. Oh, we get rid of the weak. New York State is now doing Canada-style elimination of the, it's medical assistance to die.
Right. I feel like it's never going to get that extreme where they're going to be doing like depressed people. I hope not. I mean, I'm not like against the wholesale if you have some sort of terminal disease, I'm like, I think it's fine if you're, 80 years old and you're like, yeah, I don't want to live anymore. My life is nothing but pain. I'm like, that seems reasonable to me. But when someone's like, I have seasonal affective disorder, and you're like, have you thought about killing yourself? And you're like, I mean, yeah, that's kind of all I think about, but we shouldn't be helping them. Anyway, Zach, gotta let you go. Thank you for calling in, man.
Can I say one last thing?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, it's 7:35, 3/23/2026. 10 years from now, when your podcast is the biggest podcast in the world, people should remember back when medical assistance in dying was very inconvenient. You had to have multiple individuals sign off, and it was only for a handful of people.
It's going to be like the future. It's going to be the Futurama, the suicide pods.
Yeah, it's gonna be like the number 2 cause of death after slipping on a banana peel in New York State. Anyway, I love you, Danny. I love the show.
Buddy.
Thank you for taking my call.
Appreciate
it.
Zach, everybody. All right, let's go to Dylan. The Spire 2K says, I got $55K for my dad's life insurance. What do I buy? Probably S&P 500. Make a low.
Buy a new dad.
Buy a new dad. It's a lot more expensive than $55K. He wants me to make a low-value mail Minecraft server for Patreon. I don't know what the hell that is, but go ahead. Dylan, what's up, man?
How's your tum-tum?
My tum, it's feeling better. Honestly, I'm telling you, it's because that AI Netanyahu video in the coffee shop was going around, and then I was like, I'm going to make a video, so I bought a latte, and I got a sandwich, and I got violently ill. And it may have been from something else. It's possible. Sometimes, food poisoning is slower or faster. But in my mind, that's what got me sick, which is kind of funny.
So before I go into my rant, the caller previously was talking about these 15-minute cities and all those, the pre-planned cities.
Yeah.
There's a channel by a guy named, he goes at memory hold, like you're holding something.
Yeah.
Memory hold.
I think, wasn't he on the show?
Was he on the show? I can't remember.
I think Memory Hold was on the show. I think he was a guest.
Okay, so he has a really good video and then a really super long Substack article about Kamala and the billionaire utopian city outside of this military base in California.
Wasn't this the guy who wouldn't shut up about Bitcoin?
I don't think so. I don't think
he's not like some Dutch guy.
He doesn't really. No, he's like a skinnier, nerdier version of me.
He seems, maybe he wasn't on. Maybe I tried to have him on. I thought he was on. Maybe I contacted him to come on and he didn't.
He's like a bite-sized version of Mark.
Yeah. He is. He looks like Mark. Maybe he didn't come on. I don't know. Anyways, go ahead.
Anyways, there's this city that he was talking about that they're sectioning off all this land outside of a military base. I think it was San Diego. And Gavin Newsom was pretending not to know anything about it until they finally revealed it. It's a really long story, but I suggest anybody that's interested in seeing any of these billionaire cities watch that video.
Okay. Yeah, he was on June 3rd, 2024. Memory hold.
Okay.
Yeah.
But so last time the guy was talking about, I didn't know what I was talking about with the planes falling out of the sky.
Oh, you hate that.
And I think
you hate that when someone fucking talks shit about you after you come on.
Yeah, because it drives me into an autistic spiral, and I have to do all this fucking digging, and then I have to spend time away from my family and video games.
Probably not the best use of your time, but continue.
I just have to. I can't be proven wrong.
I know.
So the Jets, oh, my voice just cracked. Sorry. The Jets were falling out of the skies. And we had talked about that helicopter and that jet falling out of the sky 30 minutes apart from each other in it was the Indian Ocean or the South China Sea.
Okay.
And the caller that said he was a helicopter pilot was saying, oh, it's definitely fuel. It had nothing else to do with that. So I did a little bit of a deep dive on both the engines and the control systems of the helicopter and the which one is it? The Super Hornets.
Yep.
Okay, so they both do use the same fuel, which is JP5. But first off, there's supposed to be a check system before anybody goes off into a flight, that they have to go and take a fuel sample and then record that and inspect the fuel tanks. So that's one check against that. But then the fuel, the reason if it gets water, like most of the time the contamination would be water. And so when the plane goes and takes off, or the helicopter goes and gets a high elevation, the tanks get really, really cold. But this fuel is designed to go and operate in really cold, has a very low freezing point.
Okay.
And on top of that, in the 50s, they already ran into the issue of icing up in the fuel filters or icing up in the engines. And they have a circulation system to make sure that the fuel constantly circulates, so it's not freezing and staying warm.
Yeah.
And then on the what was odd is that jet, it has both the jet and the helicopter both have this system on there.
Okay, hold on. Let me cut you off here
FADEC.
because I know this is boring for everybody else.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think we need to know the exact inner workings, but essentially what you're saying is that what was the point here? I don't remember, because I don't remember the point you made on the last episode. But you're just saying it's bullshit.
Okay, so
you're saying it's bullshit, right?
So what I was saying before is that I didn't think that it was a fuel issue. I think it's an electronics issue.
Okay.
And so they both operate under this thing called FADEC, Full Authority Digital Electronics Control. And what happens with that is it does not have a backup system where the pilot can take control over the plane. So if that computer system goes offline, which it has has a redundancy. So if it goes offline, you're out of luck, and it controls all of the fuel. It controls all of the plane.
And so that's essentially
if that thing.
That's what happened.
Yeah, and I'm thinking that in a day of electronic warfare, we have a high probability that these things are falling out of the sky because
is
of
this a cyber
computer
attack?
going. That's what I'm thinking. It either has something to do with some.
Did you see Intoxalock? Did you see what happened with that this week? I don't know if it's been resolved.
The what?
So, if you get I'm sure some people here know what I'm talking about or have been affected by it. So if you get a DUI in the United States and you want to use your car, you have to get this thing.
Oh, yeah. People are getting locked out. Yeah.
Intoxalock, which basically makes like the breathalyzer for you to start your car, got cyber attacked like a week ago. And I don't know if it's been resolved, but it was, I think as of yesterday or 2 days ago, it was still down. So basically, and part of this is people like to keep their probation and stuff, like to not violate their probation. They would have to blow into this thing. It was like on top of starting their car, I believe. And, oh, no, they're back online 7 hours ago. So there was a cyber attack, which is maybe one of the funnier cyber attacks. I don't know if this has anything to do with the Iranians. I don't know if they were cyber attacking stuff, why they would choose this, but it was like 150,000 people couldn't start their cars for a week.
Yeah, so all these automated systems, the same thing was happening with when they were hacking vehicles early on, because they use the same kind of technology, like using a PCM or ECU, basically. And what happens is if there's a module on that vehicle that you can send information through a radio wave, in that packet, you can get to different parts of the network of modules and take over it or make it crash. So it makes more sense that now that we're in a day where we have hacking, like with the drones being sent back from, during they were blaming Russia for the drones that were going back into Poland 6 months ago or so, something like that. So I have a feeling that they've started being able to, because these are like 40-year-old or 30-year-old plane designs or jet designs. It's the same system. And actually Pablo or Pedro, or whatever that fucking virgin retard's name is, could explain this probably a lot better, because they're not really that difficult to work on. I've worked with people that used to work on them. They're morons.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure the Iranians are known for their cyber attacks, so I'm sure we haven't seen the end of this. But I mean, if they're making I saw the thing with the F-35, although again, it's so hard to know exactly what's going on. But you know, they were saying they shot down an F-35, and the U.S. government's like, no, they shot at an F-35 and it landed fine, and you know. But
and also we just had a aircraft carrier have to go into service for about 14 months because there was a fire in the laundry room, you know, because there was probably just too much lint, and they took them 30 hours to put it out.
Sure.
You know,
I mean, the craziest thing too is I don't know where I saw this, but it's like China makes 1,000 ships a year. The United States makes 3. Like, I don't know how it was allowed to get to this point where the United States just like can't make ships anymore. Crazy.
I mean, I can tell you why.
Well,
but,
I can tell
like,
you why.
China also does this goofy shit where they lost like a submarine because they left the hatch open. Like, they do stupid shit. Yeah. I mean, we do the same kind of shit, but I mean, we shot down, like I told you last time, we shot down our own Super Hornet before in a friendly fire incident. Like, we had 8 of these things go down in the last 2 years or so due to just the stupidest shit. And it's probably all lies.
Right.
But
yeah, I mean, there's like everything you read from wherever, you're like, you have to take with a major grain of salt right now, especially in the middle of an active hot war, because I'm sure so much stuff is going to come out and you're like, yeah, that was a complete lie. That was total lie. All right, Dylan, I gotta let you go. Thanks, man.
I just need to talk shit to one more person.
Go ahead.
I just need to be petty. This retard that called me a retard that doesn't know what he's doing with
this is like that
brain
YouTube,
transfers.
This is like that YouTube video of 2 retards fighting, but in a phone call setting.
I have to do it. So the guy wants to run his own fucking mycology company. Your liquid culture looks like shit, you retard. You can't even pronounce agar, and you use fucking cotton swabs for fucking breather ports. You illiterate retard. You can't even afford Tyvek suits. You wear your stupid goddamn flannel cat fur infused jacket while you wear a hairnet. You got your fucking parafilm sitting on top of the goddamn blower. You moron. That's not sterile, you idiot. So kill yourself.
Get him. All right, Dylan, everybody.
Fuck you.
We have fun. We have fun on here. Fired up. Guys, the phone lines are open. 1-347-391-6995. Or if you're a patron or YouTube channel member, you can call the super secret special number, which is available in the thing. All right. I'm going to go to another caller right now. I believe this is Chandler. We shall see. All right. Not unmuting himself. Pretty standard stuff for the show.
Hello?
There we go. Chandler, what's up, man?
Hey, accidentally hit pound, not star. I'm retarded.
It's all good.
Hi, Chandler from Utah.
What's happening?
What's happening? So I've heard you on the Boys Cast and a lot of times on here talking about like disability payments and all that kind of stuff. And I actually have a very personal thing with that.
Okay.
My wife has epilepsy.
Shitty.
My wife has epilepsy, and so around the time they were doing like the cancellation of the food stamps and all that, there was a lot of buzz in the disability community about a lot of people losing their disability payments.
Sorry,
So
say
a
that
lot of
again.
Facebook
They were abusing them?
No, they were losing them.
Losing them. Okay.
Yeah, so people that are like in a wheelchair, people that like have no legs, don't have an arm, like
Yeah.
clearly these aren't like someone that's 700 pounds. It's like, I deserve disability. They're talking about how they started losing a lot of their payments. And then my wife lost hers. She has epilepsy.
And was this because of the government shutdown, or was this something else?
Oh, this was, I can't remember. I know this was around the government shutdown time
Yeah, I
as well.
think it was related to the shutdown where they were just losing them temporarily because they just couldn't fund them. But it wasn't like they weren't kicking you off permanently. They were just like, we just can't pay these right now. I'm just trying to.
Well, no, so it wasn't that we're stopping the payments for a little while. It was like people were getting letters saying, we're canceling your disability.
Oh, okay.
You
Yeah,
can
that's what I was
reenact
wondering.
later on.
Okay. So
Yeah.
that's way more serious. And
Yeah.
So your wife got kicked off. What was their reasoning?
The reasoning was because she made too much money. She makes about $1,200 a year.
$1,200 per year, $100 a month. And they said that is too much. That $100 a month disqualifies you from disability. Why? And what does she even do?
Well, she literally like babysits for.
Okay, can I
for, like,
ask a
family
stupid
members.
question? Why are you even declaring that?
I'm honest, man. I'm honest. I'm an
Why are you
honest
declaring this? Like,
boy. Govern me harder, Daddy.
I'm like, why declare babysitting money?
Because I don't need the tax man to come kick in my fucking door and
They
like
are not
shoot my
going
dog.
to come kick in your door for $1,200 on. First off, they'll never come kick in your door. The worst case, I'm not trying to get people to, not pay their taxes, even though if all of us didn't pay our taxes this year, that would be hilarious. But that would be a really funny prank. I always say that the funniest prank that we could do is just not pay our taxes all at the same time, because the government would just be like, we had all this money we spent on all this stuff. Hilarious prank. But $1,200, like, why? This isn't.
Yeah, like there were a lot of people that
they don't even get anything from that. What did they get? $10?
Yeah, so, and I don't even have the most ridiculous one. There was a lady, she literally did not have legs. She was a hips and a torso and arms and a head. And they said that they believed her disability was fake.
What?
She had a photo of the letter saying, we believe that you are fraudulent and that your disability is fake.
And when they say we believe this is fraud, are they threatening some sort of like legal action, or they're just like,
so we got hit with something. I was going to get to that here in a second. But,
okay, go ahead.
So, yeah, they were saying, hey, we think you're making too much money. We want all of our disability, all the disability money that we paid you for the last decade. We want that all back.
No way.
Which equates to around $60,000.
That's in. So she's getting $500 a month from the sounds of it, and they're just like, we want a decade worth of that all back because you have been making $1,200 per year babysitting.
Yeah. And keep in mind, I only filed it last year because I had a little tax scare. It's a different story, but that was like, we did the $1,200 and they're like, oh, you're making too much. Did that. And so we went and we appealed the.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry, I just had a question.
Oh, it's fine. So we tried to go and we tried to appeal the $60,000. That's still in process. We've literally heard nothing about that. So then we try and get her reinstated back onto disability. And the shitty thing is, like, so we were trying to get her reinstated. She kept working her jobs and all that kind of stuff. And in the time between, like, her not making money, she got a real job and started making, like, $16 an hour and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And so we're trying to reinstate her because now we don't have disability and all that stuff. We're having a hard time paying bills. We're trying to get her reinstated. And during that whole process, they go, oh, yeah, during the reinstatement process, even though it says in the government documentation that you can make $1,300 gross income a month, which we made sure she wasn't making, we're still going to deny it because you're still making too much money.
So they say specifically that there's an amount of money that you can make and still be on disability. And you're saying it's $1,300 a month.
Yeah, so if you...
And you were $1,200 a year. So is this just, are you just classic, like just slipping through the cracks, or, you know, are they getting some kind of edict to just deny as many people as possible?
And that's why I think it is an edict of like, this is why they're wanting, like, they're trying to pull as much money as they possibly can out of people. I know they can inflate and print as much money as they damn well want, but if they can go and just siphon money from where they can, and like people that have disabilities tend not to have the resources
reduce
to fight
entitlements, and just, you know, that's probably a pretty easy way to save money, even though, again, it's just fucking getting launched off of a aircraft carrier. But these wars are not cheap. They're not.
Yeah.
Dude, that's fucking, that's crazy, man. That really, and so, but they, like they say, you're allowed $1,200. Like, you basically reported the $1,200 because it says that that's fine. That's not something that disqualifies you.
Yeah, I was like, I'm going to do this.
Why not?
Yeah. And so we got punished for that, which is cool.
And you're aware of many other people who are also dealing with the same thing. Yeah,
like the epilepsy awareness groups, a lot of disability awareness groups, a lot of disability support groups. My wife's a part of them. Yeah. And you just see literal story after story after story after story being like all of these things. It's kind of a nightmare, but
yeah.
So
and this I imagine happened in the under Trump's second term. This was all good before then. Yeah.
Yeah, it was all fine for many times. It was fine during his first one. But yes, we try to reapply again for disability. And they go, so because your last application didn't go through, this application, we have to treat as a brand new application instead of a reinstatement. And so now instead of making $1,300 gross a month, you have to make a minimum of $1,100 gross a month.
Okay.
I don't know why that has to change, but okay, sure. And they go, also, you're not getting any back pay from all of the disability that you didn't receive versus the previous one.
Do they know you're white?
I wish. I was actually wanting to call in a couple of weeks ago to ask, how do I become one of your people? Because I think if I did this, but I said, hey, I'm a supporter of Israel and I'm Jewish, they go, oh, sir, we're so sorry.
Well,
Here's all the money back.
Jews famously do have, they have these Jewish, you know, when everybody talks about, like, you can get interest-free loans if you're Jewish.
Yeah.
I've discussed this before, but they're charities. They're not actual, like, you can't go to a bank and be like, I'm Jewish, and they just give you money for free. But they have these charities that are essentially, but you don't even have to be Jewish. They're just Jewish charities that give people interest-free loans for whatever reason that they need them for. Obviously the hope is that you do pay it back, but it's interest-free. People think they're only for Jews, but they're just Jewish organizations. Are you Mormon?
No, I despise the Mormon church to my absolute core.
Okay. I was just going to say maybe the Mormons have something similar. Mormons are kind of...
Yeah, they only do it for church members.
Yeah, you got to be a church member. Why don't you go sign up? No, I'm kidding.
Because I just... Yeah, I don't want to betray my soul like that.
Yeah, I mean, that is fucking crappy that's going on. And do you, like, when you do this, are you talking, like, is this all just through email, like automated systems, or are you actually, like, talking to...
No, we call them, like, every other day. And we've gone in person to the Social Security office at least a dozen times.
What a scam.
And yeah, they're just like, oh, you know, just there's a system. So like the current one that we just did, this was back in December, I think, is when we put the new application in. And we literally have not heard a single word back, calling them, going, showing up, all that kind of stuff. And they have not given a single word that, you know, we're working on it, we're processing it. And it was only until about a couple of days ago they said, you know, you should hear more information about 2 to 3 weeks.
Crazy, man. That's it sucks to hear. Yeah. Well, thanks for calling in, and I guess letting people know that that's going on, because that's is that only in Utah, or is that happening just nationally?
I think it's pretty nationally from the support groups.
I mean, I feel like this is a Trump thing where he's like, yeah, see, all these illegals were taking advantage of this stuff, so now we have to penalize everyone. Figuring, like, it almost seems similar to the TSA stuff going on right now, where he's just like, yeah, we're just going to penalize everybody. We're going to make it, just this miserable experience so that, some sort of leverage to get something passed somewhere. And then they'll go, okay, we'll reinstate it. Like, it's almost like they want you to call your congressperson, complain, and then they'll use this as just another piece of leverage to get whatever they want passed. Some random thing, like voter ID or whatever. Anyways, man, sorry to hear. Hopefully it gets resolved, though.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, take care. Interesting. Phone lines are still open, everybody. 1-347-391-6995. Hold on a second. Dylan Farnham says, ask dead dad guy for $50K. Hey, not the worst idea. Chandler, solve your problems. Dead dad guy. The Spire. 2K, you want to give an epileptic woman new lease on life? And Chandler, a scrote. All right. Take another call here. We're going to Joe. Is this a Joe?
Yep.
Hey, what's up?
Yeah, I just want to rant about your boy Ryan Long.
Okay.
He I think it was a couple of weeks ago on the podcast. You guys were talking about the USA versus Canada hockey game.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how we would body Cash Patel. And like sometimes he does this like whole I'm the tough guy routine.
Ryan
like,
was
brother,
I know he doesn't look like it, but Ryan, when we first met, was playing in this like men's league in Toronto, and I have this on good authority that he was really good at hockey. Ryan is. I know it doesn't seem like it, but Ryan's dad is so obsessed with hockey that he got married at a Toronto Maple Leafs game.
Okay, I guess
he's like a big hockey family. I know it doesn't seem like it, but Ryan was actually really good at hockey. I'm sorry to let you know it. I'm sorry to have to tell you, but it is a fact.
The other thing I want to talk about is that we need to bring back transgenders.
Okay, you're like the opposite of the Goob. This is like an opposite of the Goob call. Is we need more transgenders.
It was like once the whole transgender issue was over, the right just kind of moved on to hating Jews.
Sure.
And the left, and it went from like the left was all pro-trans, the right was kind of united being anti-trans.
Yeah.
And then that went away.
And then it just went to the Jews.
And then you to the Jews, and now the right split. You got the Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes, and they're out here supporting the Democrats now. I think Nick Fuentes said he supports the Democrats.
Well, he's supporting the Democrats because he wants to penalize Republicans. He's not like I love Democrats. Like he's not like some fucking like one of those. What are those dorks? I can't remember his name, but they have all those like young Twinkie dorks who are like Democrat operatives or whatever. But his whole thing is, at least Nick Fuentes is like, I just want to punish the Republicans and, essentially force them to win our vote by kind of supporting the Democrats. But I mean, with the Jew transgender thing, I always do find it somewhat fascinating that they kind of do make up almost the identical proportion of people in the world. It's like 0.23%, which it is somewhat interesting to me that it's like the exact same amount of people, kind of transgenders and Jews. Make of that what you will. But yeah, I don't know if more transgenders is going to solve this issue. I don't think most transgender people think highly of the Jews, even though without us, there would be no them.
That is the ironic thing. Yeah, you see these transgenders out there with the Queers for Palestine deal, and you're just
Yeah.
kinda like, what the,
I mean, again, they're just
going on?
like, there's always going to be a new thing, right? There's always going to be a new cause. And at the moment, it's Jews. And look, a couple of years from now, there will be no Jews left, and then they'll be onto a new thing.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like whether you didn't realize how good you had it when you had the transgenders.
That's kind of funny. Yeah, you go,
So that was
man, you're wistful for the days of just trans everything. Yeah, I mean, this will pass. People will move on to a new thing. Oh, or not. Maybe this is just the start of it. Who knows? It's hard to say.
Hopefully not.
Yeah. Are you Jewish? Or are you just kind of...
No, I'm not Jewish, but it's just like I'm kind of on the whole, I guess James Lindsay kind of right, where it's like it's just kind of a patriarchy for the right wing. Is like, as much as the left for the longest time was like all of our problems are based on the patriarchy and systemic racism. You got people on the right, the Jews have become the boogeyman.
Kind of,
It's
yeah.
like no one takes responsibility for anything in their life anymore. It's just like, the Jews did it. It's like I tripped and fell and skinned my leg.
Right.
It's like, the fucking Jews. It's like,
hey man, it's sometimes people don't. Sometimes look. I will say this, that like white guys definitely have got a bad deal in the last decade. I think there's no question about that, and I think the natural thing is you're just like, for some section of these people, they just become like, you become this victimized person, which you have been victimized. But also a lot of these people, when they saw other people doing the same thing, they were like, fucking pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Like, this is pathetic. And then when it happened to them, they were like, oh no, I'm this victim, and, I've always said, I'm like, look, someone's got to be taking it on the chin at some point. Like, nothing can be fair all the time, so someone has to be getting the short end of the stick. It became white people, and it sucks. I fully agree with that, but it just is what it is. But yeah, I never liked this whole victimhood thing. I agree with that. All right. Yeah, go ahead.
Blaming the It's like, if you got a specific policy you want to change, like if you want to say, hey, no more DEI, no more discriminating against white guys, it's like, I'm all for that. But it's just like, just blaming the Jews, like just this kind of shadowy cadre of nameless, faceless people for all of your problems.
Well, they're not nameless or faceless, but I mean, I will say historically, if you were in one of these groups that was like discriminated against, if you use it as a chip on your shoulder to like be better, it is a benefit. It's like a short-term negative and it's like a long-term positive, but there's a period where you just have to accept, you're like, this is unfair, this sucks, it's how it is, but there's ways around it, and you just kind of have to do that. But anyway, Joe, thank you for calling in. Appreciate it. Joe, everybody. All right, let's go to a Patreon caller. Got a couple in the tank. Hello.
Danny, how you doing? It's Jeff.
Jeff
from Alberta. I haven't called in for a while, I don't think, but I used to call in.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, not too bad, man. Actually, moved home to Alberta from BC, got a new job that I like, just moved out of my parents' place. I'm
nice.
Pretty happy.
Getting ready for a referendum?
Fuck yeah. I just drove by a bunch of those people yesterday, actually, or 2 days ago.
I haven't talked to any Albertans. What's the talk in Alberta right now on referendum?
I mean, most people are frustrated by the way Alberta gets treated, but like nobody thinks this is very few people nobody that I talk to, and very few people that I'm aware of think that this is a good idea.
It's probably
if
not
everything
a good
west
idea.
No, of course not. Like, we're just going to be in a worse situation, and we're going to get eaten by the states. And personally, I don't want to be a part of the states. I'm happy as a Canadian. I would, to be honest, if everything west of Manitoba, if that was the vote, everything west of Manitoba seceding and becoming its own country, and like BC was in and stuff, I would be fine with that, because then our population in the prairies and like interior BC would balance somewhat the Liberals, and we would have more of a functional country.
I mean, you'd have a coastline.
Exactly, that's the biggest thing. Yeah, we can't ship our oil through just a different country than the States now. Like, we're not going to have an easier time dealing with Canada if we're not part of them, and I don't want to join the States, and most Albertans don't. So,
I mean, I
don't think
feel
it's
like
happen. I think
for some reason Alberta secedes, which I hope not. I mean, the thing is, every Albertan I know is like the most patriotic Canadian for the most part. So obviously it would be
I consider myself more of a Western Canadian, to be honest. I have an Albertan flag. I don't fly it right now because people think you're a retard if you do.
Right.
But I have an Albertan flag in my possession. I don't own a Canadian flag. Like, I cheer for Canada in the Olympics and stuff, but like,
yeah,
I
Albertan.
identify more as an Albertan than a Canadian. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, when I saw like, I mean, you would think with like higher. Do you work in oil and gas?
No, I have a little bit. My parents both did growing up. I make beer. I'm a brewer.
Oh, okay. Because I was gonna say, I'm like, if oil is over $100 a barrel, I don't know if that's kind of more of a reason to separate, because they're like, look how rich we would be if we weren't part of Canada right now with super high.
Well, that's
prices.
certainly definitely one of the arguments. But then also, I mean, how long is this war going to last? How long is the oil going to stay up there?
Like exactly. Like it could be temporary. But I just think like the fact that there's, I think it's I don't know what the chances are. Polymarket has it at 50% chance of a referendum in Canada this year, which I imagine means mostly Alberta.
I think there will probably be a referendum like that. I think they voted on it, or like they got names on ballot on sheets this weekend.
Yeah, I mean they've been doing it
and
for months now.
I think they're gonna vote on it, but I can't imagine it's gonna happen.
Hope not.
If there are like, unless a lot of people are holding in their heart of hearts, like not talking about it with anybody. Like, I'm pretty right. I'm right of center. Like, I'm pretty vocal in my like obstinate political opinions, and like I think people would feel comfortable talking about the sort of thing around me, and nobody has. So
right.
Like, I don't personally know any separatists.
Yeah, I mean, there seem to be. I see a lot of them online. I mean, I've seen the videos of the events that they have, and there's like these huge lineups of people. But the question is like, but also you live in Calgary, right?
Yeah.
So it's like Calgary and Edmonton are probably the two cities that will have the lowest percentage of people who want to leave Canada.
That's true. Yeah, and I saw a lot of groups of people with the flags, like waving people in, and there were people turning in and stuff to go sign. So like they're certainly out there.
Yeah.
I'm sure in Edson it was like a fucking parade, and cities like that, like real oil towns. I'm sure that there were a bunch of people out signing for it. But I don't know if even if Alberta votes to secede, like that then goes to like the Senate or something, I believe.
I think
it's not just like a automatic thing.
No, I think because with the Quebec referendum, there was some, I can't remember there's some act, because it's like the Clarity Act, I think it's called, because it was unclear. They basically did the referendum and they were like, the question was unclear. So then they basically, were like, this can't happen because the question that people were asked was not clear. But I think because of this act, and I could be wrong, but I believe if it passes, it's, then they have a negotiation. It'll be similar to like Brexit, where they're like, if it goes through, then there will be a negotiation to secede from Canada. I don't think it has to be like approved, but because obviously it wouldn't be approved. Why would the Senate or whatever in Canada or whoever has to approve it? Why would they? They'll just be like, no, this is bad for Canada. I don't think that's the case, though. I think if it goes through, then it's a done deal. It just has to be negotiated.
That would be a drag, to be honest. Well, I don't know. I have mixed feelings. I've been stubborn about not wanting to be an American this conversation, but I do have mixed feelings about it. Obviously, the States is the geopolitical powerhouse and cultural hegemon. Like, it's a pretty incredible place. My brother lives there. Like, he lives in New York. I kind of want to go live there for at least a point in my young adulthood, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if Alberta goes, Saskatchewan's going to come, and then the problem will be convincing really just Vancouver and Victoria. You just have to convince those two places. Everywhere else in BC, if it's Saskatchewan.
The interior, yeah.
Yeah, like
the interior is super right wing.
Dude, literally everywhere else in BC other than Vancouver and Victoria will be completely on board with at least joining Saskatchewan and Alberta. Whether then they become part of the United States is a different story, but
I mean, if voting would allow BC to fracture and the lower mainland could just become like this little city-state, left-wing, tiny country, like I bet it's like Kitimat, like the north coast of BC would probably also separate. It's basically, it's just oil country up there. Like, everyone up there is blue collar.
Yeah, but then what? So Vancouver would essentially be surrounded by a different country, and you'd have to drive through essentially now 3 provinces to get back into Canada. I think that if thinking this scenario,
Vancouver would just also become it's a financial capital. Like they're not capital, but it's a financial hub. It could become its own little like micro state, Vancouver and the lower mainland up to Whistler, just like a little Pacific bubble.
Yeah.
Hell, maybe Cascadia will form like all those people in Portland want.
Sure. That would not be good for Canada if that's the kind of shit that's
the
future for the country. All right, man. Anything else? It's good talking to you.
No, yeah. Sure.
All right.
Yeah, you too, dude. Danny, talk to you later.
Thanks, man. Jeff, longtime patron. He's like one of the OGs. All right. We'll take one more patron call. We're going to go to Will, and then we're going to go to Slav. We'll hear from Slav. Hello, Will.
Hey, Danny.
What's happening?
Not a whole lot. So I had to go put the old dog down here about a couple days ago.
I'm sorry to hear that, man. That sucks.
Yeah, I was the one that called and told everybody I was going to do it myself, and received probably one of the 3 calls from a woman on this channel.
Ever of all time?
But what blows my mind is you have rampant racism.
Yeah.
And other things going, but that's the one.
That's the one.
That's the one that hit her.
Yeah, you didn't do it, did you?
I had to. She was getting to a point where she couldn't, kept pooping everywhere. She had skinny bones.
But like you put her down yourself?
Yeah, I took her up into the mountains and we walked around for a while, and then after a little bit, I came up behind her and then put 2 in her head. I know that blows your mind.
Look, I know this is a thing that happens. I get it. And, obviously it sounds like your dog was suffering, and it's not like you made your dog suffer further. It's just, it's such a hard thing as a fucking city guy for me to comprehend. But I know this stuff happens. I know this is not like the most abnormal thing.
Well, it's that we've outsourced everything, and I don't trust, when you take that animal into the vet, which is just another fucking scam.
Yep.
For the most part these days, you're pumping them full of drugs that you have no idea. Whereas, I took her up. It was sad that she was super happy up in the mountains, and then, boom, boom, left her body under a tree by a little stream, and the forest took care of the rest.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, dude, when I had my dog, when my dog passed away and we had him cremated and we were at the crematorium, the guy working there told us a story about the crematorium, the vet or whatever, brought in a dog to get cremated, and they had him in they were going to put him in the crematorium, and they're like, I think he's still alive. And they hadn't, I guess.
I could see that.
Yeah, I guess it just didn't take or whatever. And they had to send the dog back because they're like, yeah, this dog's still alive. So you're right. They don't always get it right. That would be, damn, man, that would be, I don't think I'd be able to do that, but I am a city bug man. Anyways, I'm sorry to hear that your dog passed away.
It's a fact of life, but your buddy was mentioning about we need more trans.
Yeah.
Thoughts? And okay, so and then he was talking about how the number of trans is about the number of Jews.
Yeah.
And I've come to the conclusion that Jews are just the trans of monotheism.
Interesting. Yeah, I could kind of see that.
So they're just the most vocal and psychotic about their religion.
More vocal and psychotic
And
than
then
the
also-
Muslims?
Well, anything there's something about the Abrahamic religion specifically that promote a block of rational thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean,
they're
I
all
would say
crazy.
that's all.
As far as I'm
I mean, that's all religion. You have to kind of
put
some rational thinking to the side to,
Yeah. But the reason I brought that up is because here in Oregon, which just happens to have a couple Jewish senators.
Okay, interesting.
Very interesting. But they're going to be running a trans rabbi from Texas for governor this year.
No fucking way.
Yes, you can look her up. Her name is Rabbi Fora, which I always thought like rabbi was like, oh, that holds the weight. You went somewhere, you read some books, you got a certificate.
It's like
I'm just finding out that
it's not much.
You just sign a thing and you're a rabbi now.
Yeah. It's like rabbi's not like doesn't require like the schooling to be like a priest would. It's
right, but it's like the Mormons, the Mormon kids coming around.
Meet Rabbi Forrest Fora Alexander. Let's see. It says, my journey to this moment hasn't been traditional, from working in community theater to serving on Human Rights Commission. My life has been defined. Let me tell you,
so much fun.
And says, my life has been defined by service. So here's how you know someone is really nuts: when they think that community theater is like service to the people. That's how you know they're.
Yeah, no, I know.
Someone who's like in the
people.
artistic stuff, like you are nuts if you think you're like, yeah, I do improv. This is community service. You're nuts.
I'm valuable.
Yeah, but you're like,
I just realized we have a local crackhead hooker over here on the corner. And the other day I realized that she provides a better service to the community than any government employee.
Sure.
Like, you can't argue that one.
I mean, you pay money and you get a service.
Yeah. There's no taxes. She's winning. One last thing I wanted to say.
Yeah, go ahead.
I do hope they run and actually this trans wins, because for the last two governors for like the last 10 years, we've had, progressive white woman, and now we got a very progressive liberal gay woman.
Sure.
And I'm just thinking, if Fora wins, hey, at least it's a dude.
Right? Yeah, at least deep down, there is a man's instincts in there.
Deep down, in every trans woman, there is a man screaming about civilization.
Right. Be careful what you wish for. I mean, I thought you were going to say that potentially if they win, then, you're going to get, after that, you've got rid of all the wacky people and, then you can have a normal one.
Oh, well, dude, no, it's over here. Oregon has just turned into California.
Yeah.
People are so done that if they ran a trans rabbi, it would be the greatest thing for Oregon because everyone would be just done.
Right.
What else are we going to go to, Janny?
I don't know. That's
how much diverse can we get?
You'll have someone you'll need a trans person and with a disability on top of it.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see.
That's wild. All right, man. Thanks for calling in. Interesting. All right, let's go to Slav. Slav.
Hey.
What's happening? Slav, how do you have the Patreon number? I don't get it. I banned you.
We've already gone over this.
I don't remember. Refresh my memory.
To the means of free market. I made another account, logged in, got the number, and
all right. And you still have an active.
You got a one-time.
All right, I'm changing the number.
Nope. Okay. Well, hey, that's on you. I mean, here's the thing. You literally just showed your ass because you didn't gain a single person to your Patreon after blocking me.
All right, bye, Slav. All right. There will be no circumvention of Patreon bans. Let's go to Goob. Goob!
What's up, Danny? Slav cracks me up. Sorry, it was just so shameless and very funny. I wanted to praise the previous caller, though.
Yeah, man. There's been a couple anti-Goobs.
I wasn't even here for that. I didn't. I wasn't. I just tuned in.
There's a guy who said we need more trans people, and then to break the Jew madness. That was his thoughts on that. And then there was a guy who's just saying that the guy who killed his dog, put down his dog. That's unfair to say he killed his dog. Put his dog out of its suffering. Is they're getting a rabbi trans governor. Or at least
I heard that one. That's why I was calling, as I wanted to praise him for being a man and handling it the proper way. 2 weeks ago, my dog almost died, and I took him to the vet, and the vet wanted to kill him there. I refused to allow my dog to die at the vet's office. Like, that's not going to happen. If he's going to die, it's going to be with me. Mm-hmm. Thankfully, he's pulled through. He's doing great again.
Happy to hear.
But as long as he's still smiling when I scratch his head, like, I'm going to keep him alive. But once his suffering gets to be too much, I plan to do the same thing.
Same thing
as that guy.
Yep. I mean, it's just an old school thing. It's it's how we did it for a long time.
Well, I mean, I can't imagine letting my dog die in a vet's office, like, especially without me by his side. But even with me by his side, I don't want him dying in a cold foreign place that's uncomfortable for him.
Sure. I mean, I get it. I get it. I do get it. It's like, you have obviously a strong bond with your pet, and I get it. I just don't think I would be able to fucking pull I think that would traumatize me insanely to do that, even though I do understand, and I get that, I'm not a vegetarian. Like, I get how this stuff works. That'd be a tough one.
I've had to kill chickens who are my friends, never a dog. It would definitely not be easy, but, like, I would ultimately feel much better. Like, obviously in the moment it's going to be horrible, but
right, but it's going to be horrible. You know what? It's going to be horrible regardless. Like, the dog's dead,
right? And in the long run, I'd know that I did the right thing by my dog.
Sure.
That's how I wouldn't want to die old and alone in a strange place. I would want to die.
That's a good point.
With my best friend next to me.
That's a good point. You want to go kind of. Yeah, that's fair.
It was kind of funny and infuriating, though.
I'm glad you didn't have to do it, at least yet.
He wants to die alone. You know how some dogs will go wander off alone? And he was definitely trying to dig a hole and crawl in it and die the night that he was on the brink. And I was like, you're a fucking asshole, dude. Like, let me die next to me, man.
My dog was like, when he had his thing where his heart kind of exploded, he was like hiding under the bed. It seemed like he was kind of doing something similar.
Yeah. Noble, but fuck you, dude. I'd be by my side.
Yeah, I know. What's up, Goob? What do you want to talk about besides killing dogs?
So I want to recommend, because I'm still making political videos, right? And so obviously check out my channel, but I want to recommend Homath. I want to recommend Homath to people because
Homath is great.
Yeah, he's a much easier sell than someone who gets 24 people watching their videos. He's got a couple 100,000, and he's basically saying the same things that I am.
Yeah, I've got a pretty good track record. People were pissed at me for not voting for Trump for a third term, but and don't get me wrong, I'm glad he won over Kamala. Like, if I had to pick, it's obviously Trump. But
wait,
it
did
was
you vote
also
for
pretty
Kamala,
clear
or
that
you just didn't vote?
No, I just didn't vote.
Gotcha.
I just didn't vote the third time. But you know, I didn't believe he was going to address immigration, which he hasn't. You know, he's not going after banks and housing and employers. I was pretty convinced he was beholden to the Jews by, you know, his third term, which clearly the Middle East is showing he is. So, you know, maybe consider listening to someone who's always right, like I am, and realize that what the right has been doing hasn't been fucking working, and it's time to adopt the Genghis Khan mentality and destroy your enemies with the utmost brutality possible. He created the largest and most peaceful empire the world has ever seen. A woman could walk from one end of it to the other, you know, carrying gold without escort, without any fear of being robbed or molested or anything like that, because he was so brutal that he understood the path to the least amount of suffering was also the path of the most brutality.
I mean, aren't you kind of just
measures,
describing like a lot of Asian countries? Like a lot of the more advanced ones, like isn't that kind of like what, you know, Singapore and a lot of these places are like, you know, people famously
Singapore,
say...
Yeah, Singapore is a somewhat fair comparison, a little bit. Yeah, I think it's not a perfect comparison, but yeah, kind of. But, you know, taking half measures, trying to meet your enemies in the middle, those things only lead to more suffering for everyone. You have to completely brutalize and crush your enemies if you want to actually create a world that can be at peace.
Fair.
Make bullying great again.
Yeah. Make what great again? Make bullying great again.
Make bullying great again. That's been my slogan.
So are you actually full, like, on the Fuentes side where you're going to vote for the Democrats, or are you still...
Oh, no. Fuentes is a fucking retard. I actually talked about that just yesterday on my stream. No, I think Fuentes is... So Fuentes has had extreme adversity, right? Like, he has been persecuted very, very heavily. He's been in this game a long time. He watched Charlie Kirk die. He watched how, you know, his handlers have been exposed. I mean, Turning Point USA obviously is been corrupted to preach the exact opposite of what Charlie actually believed. And so he's a smart guy, right? Fuentes is smart, even though he's entirely wrong. And it's kind of ridiculous to think that he's not compromised in some way. Even if he doesn't have someone whispering orders into his ear, he sees what's happening in the world. He sees what happened to Charlie Kirk, and he knows that that could very easily and would happen to him. And so there is no world in which allowing your enemies to win means that you win. You don't win by losing, you win by winning. So he's a massive problem. His whole premise of, like, he wants people to keep their head down and, you know, hide their power level is the exact opposite of what people need to be doing. You know,
well,
and
isn't
even,
he kind of, you know, you catch more, what is it? You catch more flies with honey? Like, isn't he kind of just saying, like,
no,
you know,
you don't. There's, again, you can't negotiate, you can't compromise with terrorists, and leftists are 100% terrorists. It's everything that, you know, I've been talking about, like power dynamics. You know, someone asked me, how do you solve the women problem? Right? Women are followers. If you look to history,
are we calling it that yet?
Yeah. If you look to history, all throughout history, you see that when an invading force starts dominating, you know, another group of people, the women flock to their invaders because it's about power dynamics. They flock to the side that they think is going to win. And they don't have long-term again, most people are obese. They can't even manage their own lives, much less, their communities. And so it's about getting home from work without getting punched in the face, figuratively or literally. It's not about the long-term success, but it's about that moment, what is safer. And it is absolutely safer to be a leftist terrorist right now than it is to be a random white person. A couple examples here, right? You have the trannies that knew about Charlie Kirk's assassination before it happened. Zero consequence. The right didn't go after them. The law didn't go after them.
Yeah, I do agree with that. That is crazy that like all those Discord messages, all those tweets and stuff, and just nothing. No.
You also have the Canadian school shooter, the tranny school shooter that happened within the last month or so.
Yeah, in BC.
And one of the victims' families, a 12-year-old girl, was murdered. And their family received so many death threats from tranny terrorists that the state refused to allow them to have a funeral. They said it's just not safe. We can't do it. So this family who did nothing but have their daughter murdered is not even able to have a funeral because of overwhelming amounts of death threats. Again, no legal investigation, no persecution from the right of those individuals. I don't even know. I'm sure there probably is a GoFundMe for that family, but it's got to be a small one because I've not seen it a single time. It is literally safer to be a leftist tranny terrorist than it is to be a random white person. You go back to the 70s where the terrorists were setting off bombs in the neighborhoods, and those people were released from jail and became advisors to the Clintons and the Obamas, right? So with the feminization of men, the lowering testosterone rates of men and women, so men are becoming women, right? But it's about power dynamics. So hiding your power level is the exact opposite thing that needs to happen. What needs to happen is it needs to be no longer safe to be a commie, to be a leftist, to be a tranny. And the only way to make that happen is for the right to get much bolder, much more radical, much more extreme, much more willing to commit violence and to confront their enemies and punish their enemies. Yeah, that's fine. You don't have to. But yeah, no, the hiding your power level, trying to accelerate the decline, that will only make things worse. That does not improve anything. The only thing that will help and shift things back is by exposing your power level and doing so as much as possible. Again, the left is not going to correct itself. This only gets worse unless it's stopped. And the only way to stop it is through the people, because the media, the legal system, the government, everything is stacked to the left. So the only control, the only power, the only influence the people have is, how they express their will. And the right refuses to express its will. And that needs to change extremely quickly. We are 3 years away from South Africa. And I know that many people think that's an insane thing to say, but if a Democrat president does win the next election, we will be where the UK is, which is past the point of no return. We will be on the track to South Africa irrecoverably. There are still, by the way, a pretty significant portion of leftist whites in South Africa. Like this idea of acceleration, it doesn't work. There is no moment where everyone wakes up. It's a gradual thing. Start expressing your aggression now. Start building it now, because it's not something that just happens overnight. We've seen the leftists become more and more and more radical, more and more violent, more and more aggressive. And that's because they've been practicing their aggression. They've been expressing their aggression, and the right has been refusing to, and they need to start doing so immediately, because that's the only thing that will save us.
All right. Thanks, Goob. Goob, everybody. All right. Let's take another call here. We are going to go to Patreon. This is crazy, by the way. I didn't know this. BC RCMP investigate reports of threats against Tumbler Ridge victims' families. 3 different families were getting threatened whose kids were killed by this transgender shooter. Hello. You're on low value mail. Who am I speaking with?
Mic check 1 2. Mic check.
Tony
1 2.
Scarbone in the flesh.
Danny Tunnels, what's going on, man?
What's happening? It's Danny Magic.
Danny Magic, Danny Tunnels, Danny something or other.
Mm-hmm. What's happening?
I too want to not congratulate, but pay respect to the gentleman who had shot his own dog. That is really tough, and that takes balls, and that is a very manly thing to do.
That is a very manly thing to do. I bet you have like a 5% testosterone spike.
But not without like a 10% level of like crying to yourself.
Oh, that too. Well, I'm saying like a 5% net testosterone spike. Like you're obviously whatever your sadness spikes, but then your testosterone spikes like an additional 5% over that would be my guess.
I have a lot of respect for that. So
guys, don't go start killing dogs.
Know that there are people who.
Jacked.
No. This is your own dog. You have a relationship with them. He or she is in pain and suffering, and
yes,
you know when it's time to do whatever because you're the dog owner and you've had the relationship.
Yeah, don't go Steven Seagal style and sneak up behind them and snap their necks. You got to use a gun.
Danny, just real quickly, you asked me. It's hard to call in on the bathhouse because the chaotic comedian energy can be tough to cut through.
I know.
To try and answer your question from before, Stanley Cup playoffs, CanCon. This is the CanCon part of the show. Yeah. I think Tampa Bay Lightning. Tampa Bay Lightning, Buffalo. I think Buffalo's going to go on a tear.
Buffalo's going to go out in the first round. Buffalo will be out in the first round.
You think so?
Yep.
They're number one in the Atlantic, though.
I know. It doesn't matter. Dude, Tampa won the President's Trophy like 4 years ago, and they were out in the first round. Doesn't mean anything.
You think if Tampa Bay likely makes it to the Stanley Cup Finals again? Do you think Florida should change their license plate to the Stanley Cup state? Holy shit!
I mean, look, they didn't win. I hate all that talk about. They're like, oh, they have this unfair advantage because the taxes. There was fucking 25 years where there were teams in Florida, in South Florida. And
we're dog shit.
And they were the worst teams in the league. So now, obviously, it's changed. And, obviously players would rather go to Florida because you make more money and the teams are good. But, there's other low-tax places where, although I don't know if there's any low-tax places where there's bad teams anymore.
I know Seattle is one of them. Seattle doesn't have an income tax. And then Dallas, I believe, as well, which
Washington State
I think Dallas is going to do.
Washington State has no income tax? That is news to me.
I believe they don't. I'm pretty sure they don't. I'm pretty sure they're one of the states that does not have an income tax.
They're pretty liberal. No, they have... Does Washington's... Hold on. I thought any liberal state has an income tax. Oh, no. Washington State is one of 9 states that do
Washington State is
no, you're right.
tax.
You're right. They do not have income tax. They do have a 9.9% tax on long-term capital gains over $278,000 and a 9.9% millionaires tax on income over $1 million. That starts in 2028. All right, I didn't know that.
Oh, so you know what? Actually, that starts in 2028. In the future, hockey players will be penalized who play for the Kraken or traveling players who play on that. But right now,
good point.
Yeah.
Well, no, it'll just be back to income tax. That's probably similar to an income tax they would pay anywhere else. So if you're a professional athlete, it just goes back to that's an income tax state, just like anywhere else.
I was looking at those income tax, like doing a bit of research on who pays the most income tax in the NHL. Apparently, the New York Rangers are number one.
I believe that. Sports has a weird thing, though, where they have this thing called the jock tax. And in the United States, every time you play in a different city, you have to pay the money you made that day at that state's income tax. So it only really applies to half the money you make because half the games are home games. And then everywhere else you travel, you're paying income tax in that state for that day.
Which makes a lot of sense. But you guys think you're still playing 40 some odd games in that place. Apparently the Rangers were number one. and then like all the Canadian cities, the Maple
And
Leafs.
then all the Canadian cities.
Ottawa, I think was Ottawa Maple Leafs, and then like Winnipeg was number 3 or 4, Vancouver was 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And then the next Canadian city or the next American city was Buffalo.
Right.
That like number 6 or 7, I believe, from what
That
I saw. So I think it does. I don't know. I think it does count to that, but
it factors in.
Just another thing to say.
Go ahead.
Colorado is probably gonna. I know I'm running out of time here. Colorado is probably gonna get bounced because they're the president's trophy, and that curse is real.
Yep.
Edmonton, I don't know. Someone. Let's
I
say
think it's gonna be
Dallas
Minnesota.
and Tampa Bay.
I'm going with Minnesota.
You know what? Okay, sounds good.
All right.
But
Later,
yeah,
Tony.
Minnesota it is.
Tony Scarbone, everybody. That was our Canada hockey hour. Let me read some super chats. Howling Kenny Rogers says James Lindsay stinks. Iron Man Metal Bill says no one cares about snow Mexicans. Howling Kenny Rogers says Canada stinks too, echoing what Iron Metal Bill said. Poison 1553, that's Pablo, says switching from I put my dog down to trans little hats is crazy. Dylan says he said her and equated racism as bad. Boo. I believe he referred to he's talking about the caller calling the Oregon transgender rabbi a her. And then Dylan Farnham says, imagine dog psychic contacting old yeller caller. That would be funny if you killed your dog and then probably if you're killing your dog, you're not getting a dog psychic. Those are just two fundamentally different types of people. Sam, you're on Low Value Mail.
Hey, buddy, what's going on?
Here we go. We got a woman, and I imagine you don't like the dog killing stuff.
Well, let's talk about it.
Let's hear it.
I'm actually pro killing your own animal.
Sorry, say that again?
I am pro killing your own animal.
Okay, interesting. All right. Let's hear it.
So you took Connor to the vet to be put down, right?
No. Connor had basically a medical emergency. We took him to the vet to save his life, and then they offered us to try and fix him or put him down. We were like, well, try and make him better, and then he died on his own in the hospital 2 days later.
Okay, so
at great expense to us.
Right. He was drugged out of his gourd and died because his heart rate was so slow, probably.
I think it was actually his blood pressure. He basically had he was on some blood pressure medication, and then they're like, we have to wean him off of it because he can't stay on it indefinitely. And they weaned him off of it. I believe his blood pressure dropped too low and his heart just stopped, is what happened.
Okay. All right. So my whole thing is, these women, and it's always women. There's like one dude that works at the vet, okay? These women hate putting down your dog. They hate putting down your cat. They bawl, they boo-hoo. It's the worst part of their day.
Yeah,
it's killing your dog and cat.
I would just like to say, it literally, this animal hospital, all women. All the nurses were women, obviously, but it was...
Yeah, it's all women because it's a industry for women.
Yes,
like, dudes,
correct.
No offense to you, dudes shoot their dogs,
okay?
They're not going to pay $400 for some girl who's like 25, fresh out of technical school, to kill your dog for you. They're just not going to do it.
Right.
So yeah, I am pro shooting your own dog and shooting your own cat. Do you hunt, Danny? Have you ever hunted anything?
I've never hunted anything in my life. No, I'm a city guy. I have some friends who hunt in Canada, but I've never personally hunted.
Yeah, you gotta go hunting, dude. Go shoot a squirrel in Central Park. I don't know.
When I was a kid, when I was like probably 10, my dad bought me a BB gun, and I shot a blue jay, and felt awful about it. I was not even trying to shoot the blue jay. I was trying to shoot something near the blue jay, and I think the scope was like not set up properly, and I shot the blue jay right in the chest, and I felt absolutely terrible.
Likely story, friend. Likely story.
Yeah.
You no, I'm just kidding. No, that is awful. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, go kill something. And you do cry, by the way. When you shoot your own animal, you do cry. You feel bad. Well, at least
but I think you're crying.
You're
crying anyways, though, right?
Yeah, you're gonna cry. Like I've done both. I've shot my own animals, and I've taken them to the vet to have them die.
Yeah.
you're gonna balk.
Right. Yeah. Like you're not pumped about taking them to the vet and upset about the other.
You know what you're taking them to the vet for.
Right.
When you go in there, you're like, they might die. No.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Fair enough.
That's just me.
Fair enough.
I grew up doing that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, look, I had an ex-girlfriend. I think I've probably said this before, but her dad was this really old school guy, and his thing was like, if a vet bill is more than, I think it was $300, he just was like, no, taking care of it myself. And he was probably going that route where he was just taking her out back, and that wasn't even for like, this dog is really sick. This dog is just a financial inconvenience.
Yeah, so people pay more for dogs now than they used to as well. And I think that's another thing.
Yeah.
So, like, you're not going to want to shoot your dog, your golden doodle that you paid $1,500 for. You're not going to want to shoot that guy in the head.
No.
Right? But you will shoot the $95 picnics in the head because it bit your kid.
Right.
You will do
Yeah.
that.
I mean, so if I had a pit bull mix and it did something like that, I think I could do it easier. I would still be upset about it. I think I could do that, but I don't think I could shoot my sweet boy Connor in the head. I just don't think I could do it.
No, but this could also be like a socioeconomic thing too, if you think about it, because people who have,
of course,
they're
I
not
mean,
they're good off, you know.
Yeah, what does a bullet cost? 50 cents?
Yeah, round about. So I mean, it's kind of based on where you're at, who you.
Absolutely.
Look.
Look. If you can't afford to put your dog down, and the alternative is you shooting it or letting it suffer until it dies on its own, totally on board with you shooting your dog.
Completely.
Completely.
Next thing.
Yeah.
I have been, and I know this is not why I called, but I have been holding on to this since Christmas. Okay. Pablo called before Christmas. Mr. Pablo, who does the engineering, whatever, on the airplane.
Yeah, he's an airplane mechanic.
Talking bad about women driving big vehicles while he's on his motorcycle.
Okay, give it to him. Let's hear it.
Do you remember?
I do.
This is the whole thing he had.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. He needs to take personal accountability. He's on a freaking motorcycle. They're not safe.
They're not. They're the most dangerous things that you could drive.
Literally, why am I responsible for him? Not me personally. I'm sorry, Pablo. I'm getting a little heated. Okay, buddy.
Yeah, no,
but
get heated. Get heated.
What I'm saying is that I'm a woman that drives a big vehicle. Okay, and I am a good driver. I don't get in accidents, nothing like that. I don't run over motorcycle men.
You're not.
If you're going to,
you don't have all scraped up rims and a bumper.
No, I do not. I drive a big enough truck to where I don't scrape my bumper.
Good.
Okay. So it's one of those things where if he's going to do the irresponsible thing, don't blame somebody else when you get in trouble and get hurt.
Right. Fair.
That's all
I mean, this is America. Look, we're in America. You're allowed to do whatever you want, but this is more of a, personal responsibility place. This isn't Canada where you blame everybody else for your problems. If you get hit while you're on your motorcycle, that is your fault. Or at least you need to take some responsibility. Fair enough. Sam, thank you for calling in. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Danny. Have a good evening.
Take care. All right. Let's take another call. Yeah, you hear that, Pablo? Stop being a bitch. Hello. You're on low value.
Hey, Danny.
What's happening? Thanks for holding on.
Good to be back. This is Jason calling from California.
Jason from California. What's happening?
Not from California. I'm calling from California.
Calling from California. You made a point to differentiate.
Yeah, so I called a couple weeks ago. I was the one that told you about the Liberator pistol.
Yeah, that was cool.
So yeah, military stationed out here. So big difference.
So
originally
what's
I wanted to call. Well, that's the reason I called. But since I've been on hold listening to everybody else, I got a huge list of stuff to address. Like
Let's go.
Dylan's knowledge of avionics with dog euthanasia.
Yeah.
In fact, I got a note in my phone going because I knew I was gonna forget. Let's see. Dubai travel. Like I've been in and out of Dubai and Abu Dhabi a bunch.
Okay. Recently?
But anyways, no, just in the past 10 or 15 years.
Oh, okay.
So as far as I'll start with Dylan, very knowledgeable on like FADEC systems and fuel control and fuel heating and the way that works in airplanes for someone that's not like in the field but did research.
Okay.
So I don't think I mentioned when I called before, but I am a pilot in the military, so I'm both an airplane and a helicopter pilot.
Okay. Thank you for your service.
One mistake. No, thanks. Yeah, not a big deal. But when he said what FADEC was, he said electronic control when it's engine control. So FADEC is an acronym that stands for Full Authority Digital Engine Control.
Okay.
Which basically just means computerized, like fuel metering versus like the old, analog system that was done before. He did say that when it fails, there's no like manual control, and that's not true across the board. There's a lot of aircraft that have the ability to take the fuel into like a manual mode if you do have a malfunction. Okay. And that'll be covered in like standard emergency procedures that you practice, like a FADEC minor or a FADEC major emergency. Not to say that it couldn't still be uncontrollable or fatal, but it's not entirely true. Just say like a FADEC airplane can't be controlled if that system.
Okay, so if they were like cyber attacked, there is some contingency.
So and then that's the other thing is that like all electronic components in aviation are what's called EMI hardened, so electromagnetic interference hardened, so shielded against that, and it's all evaluated as part of like the certification process. So because there's just electromagnetic interference everywhere, and aircraft have to be able to operate in it. Something like an F-18 Super Hornet, it's going to have like military level, like hardened from jamming.
Right.
So it's not like it's entirely just vulnerable. Not to say that there's not something that could get through, but it would be very sophisticated. So, an example is in the opening air attack of Desert Storm, the U.S. Air Force had retrofitted some Vietnam era strike bombers for just electronic warfare jamming. And that was the initial push as they were flying low to just jam everything on the ground. Mm-hmm. And the pilots that flew them said that when you flipped the switch and turned on the jammer, you could feel the whole plane vibrating. Like that's how much it was putting out.
Yeah.
But their own plane was shielded from that, along with the U.S. planes that were,
right. Interesting.
As far as like a FADEC failure causing those two crashes, it's possible, but I wouldn't just say like, yeah, that's definitely what happened.
Yeah.
And what I would say is even if you had an engine failure due to fuel contamination or FADEC failure, it's also not that the aircraft becomes uncontrollable. Like planes glide, helicopters auto rotate. Like you can have a complete engine failure and still survive.
Right. Okay. Oh. All right. So it's possible, but not like
not that Dylan was incorrect in what he said. It's just there's just so many more variables.
Right. Okay.
But as far as like the general military attitude, I like what you said about how people in media will say no one wants this war, but you were just in Fort Worth and there's people that are pretty pumped about it.
Very pumped. I was surprised how pumped, because I think I'm on Twitter too much, and it was actually like a little bit jarring how pumped people were.
Right. Yeah. The difference between real world and online.
Yeah.
But I'd say within the military community, there is a generation that is kind of bummed that they missed out on the GWAT era. The people that have joined in the past 5 or 6 years, that all they do is train, and they're afraid they're not going to have any of those experiences.
So it's interesting you say that, because I've actually wondered about this, and I wondered that exact thing, which is just like how many people sign up for the military and they're like, no, I want to go fight. Like I don't want to just sit around.
So
like, I want to go do this.
Right. And there are plenty of people that, I'm doing this because I didn't have other good options, or there's college benefits or whatever, and I'll be perfectly happy to do my 4 or 6 years and come out unscathed and go to college. Like It's not like 100% of people are just champing at the bit for this, but there's probably a bigger percentage that like they don't want the best stories of their career to be like getting yelled at in basic training.
Right.
Like they want to go out and experience. And I was the same way. Like I've been in for almost 30 years. And in the late 90s, like when there was talks of Bosnia, I was a tank driver at the time. And I was like, shit, I hope I get to go. And then later on, when 2003, when Operation Iraqi Freedom kicked off, like I was trying to find a deploying unit to volunteer to go with as like an augmentee, because I was afraid it'd be like Desert Storm. And if you weren't on the first wave, you'd miss it.
So is there any, like, do anybody who you're with, you know, who you work with in the military, is any of them like, you know, the fact that it's, some people are like, this is for Israel. Like, are they like, I don't give a shit, I just want to go?
No, nobody that I'm with. And again, I think that's a difference between Twitter and the real world. Not to say that there's not like one person here or there that's being corrupted to believe that. Yes. But that's not the general sentiment of we're being sacrificed for Israel.
Right.
If we go.
You guys are just like, let's fucking go.
Yeah. But, you know, and the other side of that is like in 2017, I deployed to northern Syria and Iraq in the support of the fight against ISIS, like Mosul and Raqqa. And when I was leaving, someone said, "Oh, are you excited to be going with Trump as president?" And I said, it doesn't matter. Like I've been in Iraq and Afghanistan under Bush, Obama. I was in Afghanistan under Biden. Like it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like from the.
I mean, this is what you've been training for, right? It's like this is all the training.
Not only does it not make any difference, like you don't care.
Yeah.
So.
Interesting. Yeah, you're just, I mean, this is what you train for.
I see a lot of stuff like, oh, yeah, you know, it's, you know, most guys that work for a fire department, I bet they don't think, man, I hope I can do a 30-year career and never have to pull anyone out of a burning building.
Right.
Like,
which is
everybody wants to, yeah, so.
It'd be like being on a practice squad for a sports team.
Oh,
you're like, I want to get in the game.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Career backup. But you and Ryan were talking about on the Boys Cast about how, I believe it was, you were talking about how like the people that were killed initially in the port were like reservists, and one of you said, why was it reservists? Like, aren't they like the last ones to go in?
Mm-hmm.
So historically that was true. Like through Vietnam, where they had the draft going, it was all active, and you know, the National Guard and reserves were held back as a strategic reserve because you don't want.
I mean, it's like the name is reserve,
the homeland to be vulnerable.
Right.
Yeah. So there's been a huge shift in the past, you know, like in my generation. So, say like combat heavy engineers, which is just what the Army calls construction units. You know, there's people that build buildings. There's people that do like road and earthwork. 75% of them are in reserve components, with like half being National Guard and like 25% being reserves. So anytime you need that asset, you're not getting that from active duty Army. You're getting it from a reserve.
Gotcha.
And it's good because those are skilled labor jobs where it's likely that the guy that's in that type of reserve unit does that full time professionally or something similar.
Makes sense. So it's not like necessarily on the ground soldier. It's like something more specific.
But there's a lot of that too. So yeah, my first deployment when I was 25, I was an infantry squad leader in the National Guard, and in 2004 we were just doing the same job as everybody else in Iraq. So, and then I've been aviation for the past 16 years or so. And so again, a lot of the.
Do you work privately in aviation, or are you just like in the full-time military?
I do. So yeah. So I'm currently deployed to California, for a year. But normally I fly cargo planes for my full-time job.
Gotcha. Interesting. Cool, man. I mean, that's.
No, I hear a lot
insight.
I hear a lot of. Yeah, I see a lot of stuff where people are tweeting like, "Oh, I'm so worried that my son who's in the Army is going to have to go." And I'm thinking like he would be embarrassed if his buddies saw his mom's tweets.
Right. Yeah. You're like, that's the equivalent of if you're like on a football team and you're like, I hope my son doesn't get into the game they're gonna hurt him.
Yeah, because he's too tender-hearted.
Right. Cool. One last thing. Do you have something about the dogs, killing dogs?
Oh yeah. So just because that seems to be the hot topic on your comedy show, is people talking about euthanasia. So I've explained that kind of cultural difference in dog ownership. My father grew up right after World War II, like in the country, and to him the dogs were just the loose animals outside that you put food out for.
Yeah.
Where my dogs live in the house and part of the family, like a lot of people. So I had a retired bomb dog named Harko that I met him when he was 3 in Afghanistan. I was over there as a civilian contract pilot, so I was supporting military operations, but in a civilian capacity, like as a private, like expat.
Okay.
So I met him over there and made arrangements to adopt him when he retired. So when he was 7, about to be 8, they early retired him for workability issues, which basically means he got hard-headed and didn't want to listen anymore.
Okay.
So I had him until he was 15 years and 8 months old through like heart conditions. So people talking about how expensive it can be. I was doing ultrasounds twice a year, sent off to canine cardiologist.
My dog had a cardiologist too. A New York City cardiologist.
Yeah.
Not
So,
cheap.
Right. So, which, I get, like, if that's a financial hardship, I wouldn't expect everyone to do that. But my opinion was, like, I can afford it. I'm going to do everything I can.
Mm-hmm.
So when he passed, he had a sharp decline where, he was bright and happy in the morning, and 12 hours later, like, lights were on, but nobody's home.
Okay.
So we were at the emergency vet, and, just real straightforward. The vet comes in and says, like, look, you need to manage expectations. If you imagine a scenario where you and this dog walk out, it's not happening. And so really I was put with the choice of, kind of like the other caller said, do I have him euthanized here, or do I take him home and, spread out a blanket and lay on the floor with him until he passes?
Mm-hmm.
And I opted to go ahead and do it there. And part of it was basically he had an internal bleed that was uncontrolled because his platelets were so low. So he was getting very little oxygen to the brain.
So he was suffering.
Like, he doesn't know where, well, it wasn't that he was suffering necessarily, but he doesn't know where he is. So for me to take him home, like, who am I doing that for?
Right. That's just for you at that point.
So, and I will say this, when people say, like, you want the dog to be somewhere comfortable, not in a cold, unfamiliar place. I will say this, some of the nicer new vet clinics, they take that into account, and they have an end of life room that is very comfortable. And the way they handled it was, we go in this room, there's a couch, and there was like a touch lamp on the table.
Mm-hmm.
And they wheeled his gurney in with him, and they said, you spend as much time as you want with him, and when you're ready, touch the lamp, and that'll signal us to come in. And I held him on the couch for I don't know how long, touched the lamp, they came in, did it, left. I continued to hold him, until I put him back on the gurney and covered him. So it's not an entirely cold experience.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. We had the same thing, but he had already passed, but they brought us into this similar room, exactly what you're describing.
Which, like, I'm sure that was hard for you, but
it sucked.
You didn't have to make that choice. And I mean, you had to make the financial choice leading up to that, but you will always know that you did everything you could. You didn't let a financial decision get in the way.
Plus, we hired the dog psychic, and he seems to be doing pretty well up in heaven. So,
did you confirm the dog is in heaven?
That's what the dog psychic said. She's obviously a con artist, but my wife believes that, so I think that's all that matters.
Yeah.
All right.
Sounds like you got your money's worth then.
Yeah.
But thanks for taking my call.
Thank you.
And,
honestly, great call. Thank you. Call back in whenever and let us know. Go ahead.
Yeah. I try to call when I can. A lot of times work gets in the way and I have to listen afterwards. But yeah, I'll call when I can.
Thanks, man. Take care. All right, gonna take one last call because he's been waiting for a long ass time. Hello, Will.
Oh, hey, Danny. My God, this is like the third time I've been the last call. What a downer of an episode.
Yeah, I know. It's all about killing dogs and war.
Today, my sister sent me a picture of PewDiePie's dog. Apparently, it was PewDiePie's dog's birthday. He's like 16. He has pugs. You know, me and my sister have a pug.
Yeah.
So, like, literally today, I was researching supplements for my pug.
Yeah.
I'm like, God dang, he's going to turn 5. You know, he's probably thinking about his health a little bit more. He needs to lose a little weight. And I come home and listen to a funny podcast full of racist and conspiracy theories, and I'm reading about dead dogs.
Yeah.
How was it, before I get to my rant, how do you like Texas? I know you're here.
It was great. It was great. Other than the food poisoning, it was a wonderful time.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, it was my first time in Fort Worth. It's cool city. Really really clean. Good pace there. I liked it.
Yeah, I was in Austin that weekend. I'm in San Antonio, but I drove up to Austin that weekend. A friend of mine, she wanted to go see a band, the Wonder Years, and it was an okay, but I knew it was going to be an adventure when the band walked out and the lead singer was wearing a Protect Trans Kids t-shirt.
Oh yeah.
Midway through their set, Danny, I got to tell you this. Midway through the set, in this cadence, I'm not exaggerating. I'm not putting on the show. In this cadence, this man literally speaks like this. I got to tell you guys something. I was in the comments section, and there was a certain kind of bootlicker. And I know you shouldn't read the comments, but they're all like, when did this band get so political? Well, this tour is 10 years old, and this next song's about how capitalism enables white supremacy.
Oh.
I'm like, fuck, what the fuck did I get into?
Jesus. Yeah, I don't think that would have. I don't think that would have played in Fort Worth. That's a Austin thing.
yeah, that's that was wild. But I mean, it was it's emo music and
sure.
And I like live music, whatever it is. But that was hilarious. And I'm like, I'm just thinking in my head, like, you just took our fucking money. Like, what do you mean capital? The fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
We're paying to see you right now.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, what do you think any of this is? This isn't a free show.
Okay, no. So my thing was, 2 out of 4, ain't a pattern. But I mean, last year we had the tariffs that kind of temporarily tanked the economy. Right now, this year, it's the Iran war.
Yeah.
And there's something in me that thinks that this ain't an accident. This is being purposely done. I have some hypotheses.
I covered this last year with the start of the tariffs. Like, they do have some specific goals that they are trying to accomplish, specifically weaker U.S. dollar, lower treasury yields, specifically like the 10-year U.S. Treasury. And, a lot of this has to do with the fact that the U.S. debt is out of hand. The interest service payments right now are higher than the entire budget of the U.S. military, right? And the only reason is because interest yields are so high, the interest rates are so high, that's the interest that they pay on it. So they have to do something about it. And at least they're trying to do something about it. And obviously the debt continues to balloon, but at least they're trying to bring the interest rates down so that they're not paying as much interest. So anyways, some people had been saying, they're like, yeah, they're purposely trying to put us in a recession to manage the debt. I don't know what your thoughts are, but go ahead.
So it's either purposely put us in a recession or putting off a recession until after he's out of office so he can say, well, things weren't as bad as they are now when I was in office. That's a more cynical take, where I think he's just trying to delay a recession or a big crash.
Yeah.
That's just,
it's possible.
Or preemptively, maybe just causing small dips here and there to cushion a blow. That was kind of.
Yeah, I mean, that's the ideal thing, is you kind of do this in kind of here and there, and then at the end of it, you're like better off, but you kind of like accomplish what you want to accomplish with the least amount of pain, I guess, Like you just do it smoothly versus just like some big drop recession immediately and, cause a lot of pain to a lot of people really quickly. So, I mean, it's a tough thing to do. Like all the stuff that, to say like, hey, we need to bring down the interest payments on the debt. Like bond market's the biggest financial market in the world. Like it is not an easy task to do this by any stretch of the imagination. So.
Yeah, I'm thinking about moving a lot of money into like money market funds at this point. Just that's kind of where I think I'm going with this. But I'm borderline financially illiterate, so I don't know what I'm talking about. But I mean, there's a point of me thinking that maybe every single October through January, just hoard cash, over the next 2 years over this time period, and just plan for whatever crazy shit's going to happen in February.
I mean, look, if you don't need the money in if you have like kind of a rainy day fund, not to go all too Dave Ramsey on you right now, but if you have like a bit of a rainy day fund and you can, kind of be apart from the money temporarily, just put it in the S&P 500. Like you look at a chart and it's literally a 45-degree line. All you have to do is just put it in there, forget about it. That is the best thing you can do with your money. I mean, money market fund, obviously, if you have a lower tolerance for risk, but like you're just betting on the United States. So if you think the United States is not going to be where it's at in 20 years, which is, people have made this bet historically, it has been a terrible bet. You're betting on, the United States to just prosper. And, it's such a bad bet to bet against it. It's never been a good bet. It'll never be a good bet. And it's really
I tend to agree, but I don't know. It's very interesting what the next 2 years are going to bring. This has been very exciting.
See, that's the thing. It doesn't. 2 years doesn't matter because you're not doing this for 2 years from now. You're doing this for 20 years from now, and 20 years from now, unless you think this is just the end of the republic, it's a good bet. You're not going to time it right. You never will. Just buy it. Fucking don't look at it, and just 20 years from now, you'll thank yourself. You'll be thanking yourself for having done that. Like 100%.
Well, I'll have to take my sister's advice and just listen to the Jew.
Hey man. I mean, you don't need to listen to the Jew. Listen to fucking Warren Buffett. Guy's greatest wasp that's ever existed. Don't listen to me. Listen to Warren Buffett. And he says the exact same thing. Just buy good companies.
I'm not implying.
Forget about it. Yeah.
I'm not implying you're giving me financial advice here.
Yeah.
Legally.
Yeah.
All
but
right.
again, this is just the advice from Warren Buffett. It's not my advice.
Yeah, no, Danny, thank you. Been a great show. I'm definitely going to be a Patreon member. I was like, I almost didn't make it. I was telling my sister, like, shit, I'm going to have to sign up now.
Well, sign up. You wouldn't have to wait so fucking long. I would have got to you an hour ago.
Yeah, shit. All right. All right, Danny, you have a good night. I'm looking forward to next week. Less dead dogs.
Yes,
news, hopefully
less dead dogs. I hope so.
All right, I'm gonna go hug my pug.
Okay.
You have a good night.
Take care. All right, we got some super chats. Dylan Farnham says caller start over was playing hide and seek. Ironic being that firefighters start fires often. They do in Canada a lot, actually. When they, my friend told me he works in firefighting for forest fires, and if they have wet like seasons where they're not forest fighters, he said a lot of like the natives go and start fires, so they have some work. And then Dylan Farnham says, can Air Force guy call next week so I can ask questions? If he's listening, call next week. We'll talk to him. All right. That has been the show. Thank you very much, everybody, for tuning into an all-new episode of Low Value Mail. If you want, again, priority access to the phone line, patreon.com/lowvaluemail. Plus, we have a fun, lively chat. It's a good time. You're missing out. It's a fun little thing that we got going on. New episode of The Bathhouse tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Tune in. We'll be live from the stand. God willing, I haven't talked to them, but I don't think they have anything that will prevent us from doing it. So we should be good to go. Otherwise, shout out to Gerard, our producer, has been doing a bang-up job. And that's it. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I was going to say don't kill your dogs, but I mean, I guess if you're putting them out of their misery, I don't know. Weird topic. I know. I could not do it, but turns out some of you can. All right. Good night, everybody. See you soon.
my shit heroic. Empathic abilities, yeah, my face be also stoic. Bleep, blow up, nigga, that just means I'm working. They see me as a leader, so that's why I'm Captain Kirkin. These tracks from the stars, that much is for certain. You can feel this hit if you up or if you hurt. I'm raising my stock, now talking my feet in some Birkin. Number Johnny 5, got a fucking short circuit. Bring the track to life when I spit phenomenally. When I hit, she feel that shit in her abdominals. These rappers make me laugh like comic view, they comically. You know I got a ball out, I hit the track running just like Sonic do. They don't wanna turn on my light switch. Yeah. They was trying to get me on my hype shit. Yeah. They don't wanna turn on my light switch. Yeah. And they tried to down me on some KO type shit. Yeah. They don't wanna turn on my light switch. Yeah. Now we pulling up fresh on some flight shit. Ha. They don't wanna turn on my light switch. Yeah. They don't wanna turn on my light switch. They don't wanna turn on my light switch. Yeah. They was trying to get me on my hype shit. Yeah. They don't wanna turn on my light switch. Yeah. Then they tried to down me on some KO type shit.